This show is easy to talk about, though, because it could quite possibly be my new favorite show. And the best part about this show is from now until we're done covering it, I get to say every week, "Oh no, you've been murdered."
God, any excuse for you to just get into any sort of accent, whatever it might be. Sometimes they are horrific, and they usually end up going back to an English accent. You
Or
go a little
Australian.
Cockney or Australian. Yeah, Australian's probably a little bit more standard for you,
I think
but
I
I
can hold
agree.
this one.
Yeah, and the problem with this show is, and we love it. This is our first time covering Traitors. They dropped 3 episodes.
I
So
know.
I am super tantalized to just keep going, but for just I guess the sake of our audience, no spoilers. We're covering episode 1 right now, and that is what we're covering. I am not going to allude to anything else. I wanted to just sit here and be like, oh yeah, I just watched the first episode. I couldn't. I watched the first episode and I'm like, I have to know what happens next. I have to know what happens next.
I gotta have me my bros and shows. Bros and shows. Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, and welcome to the first official episode of Bros and Shows. But we are formerly the BravBros, and forever your BravBros, let's be honest here. But I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Shooter Magooter. It's going to get so bad.
It is going to get really bad. And, talking before we started the episode, you were excited at the prospect of being able to pull out your Scottish accent whenever you want. And it is relevant, which is bad news for everybody listening and bad news for me. Because at some point,
the whole time.
I'm just waiting for the Scottish accent to turn into an Australian accent because that tends to be what you do. Mm-hmm. But either way, we are pumped to cover Traitors. This is our first ever Bros and Shows episode. It's our first Traitors coverage, and we are going to keep it to season 3, episode 1, and that's it for this one. That's what we're doing today.
We're not going to leak into the next. Oh, I don't like that. We're not going to eke into the next.
Is eke any better?
I kind of like way better than leak. We're not going to eke into episode 2 and 3. What we're going to do is either, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday it'll drop. Goots has a wedding this weekend, so he's MIA. So we're going to try to get it out as soon as we possibly can, so we stay on time with Traitors. We want to keep this one up to speed. But we're going to do a joint episode next week of 2 and 3. We'll probably separate it into 2 parts, but we're going to hammer all of that out at once. But we wanted to get this one out first thing Monday. That's why we're releasing Monday at midnight. So I guess Sunday, it's actually Monday because it's midnight. Mm-hmm. And that's how time works. My first impression of this, I mean, I've watched bits and pieces of season 1 and 2, and not because I didn't want to. It's just we were covering so many things that I didn't have time to really dive into it, but I've always enjoyed it. I was waiting to get that feeling that everybody seems to talk about when they watch this show, where it's like, it's just the best at top to bottom. Everything about it's like so good. And I was captivated almost instantly. It took no time at all for me to be like, I get it. I totally get why.
Right.
I love the way it's shot. Alan Cummings is a fucking genius. I'll watch anything with him anyway, but this is such a perfect role for him. The cast of this season in particular, I think maybe it's because of all the crossover we get, but it's interesting to see, the other people from different backgrounds. You got the Survivor peeps, you got Selling Sunset, you got RuPaul's Drag Race, you got The Biggest Loser in Bob Harper, I was a massive Bob Harper fan. Not gonna lie.
Were you? Yeah, you were Biggest Loser guy. Yeah,
I was a huge Biggest Loser guy until I learned about the not so great practices that were occurring at The Biggest Loser. God. It wasn't super healthy for those people, apparently. But yeah, I was a Biggest Loser fan. But I'm stoked, dude. I love this fucking show. I think I get it. I totally get it.
No, I fully understand the appeal. I actually I got bits and pieces too of season 2 and some clips of season 1. I think that I watched the reunion from season 2 about 10 times because my girlfriend kept saying, let's watch it. We'll watch it. And it was just the same reunion episode. And I'm like, all right, I need to watch the season to understand what's going on. But even the reunion was captivating without knowing all the ins and outs of what happened. So I'm pumped to cover it. And I don't think we should waste any more time. Why don't we just hop into it?
Let's dive in real quick. But we get our intros right out at the gate. And there's a lot of people I don't know because we've pretty much been Bravo-centric for the past few years. I watched Survivor forever ago. Was always a fan of Survivor. I watched a little Big Brother and stuff like that, but the other shows I'm not too familiar with. But the intros that we get, because I wanted to highlight the early tensions, because obviously they put people on this show that have some previous beefs to drive the tension. And out of the gate, you got Tony versus Jeremy from Survivor. I guess
Yep.
Tony whacked Jeremy at some point. Carolyne, also from Survivor, and I guess this Tony dude is a bad mofo in the Survivor universe. So
Yeah.
immediately I'm locked in on Tony, and we'll talk about some prop bets and who we got out of the gate, who we think's going to win this game. But it's an unlikely cast of characters. You get Dylan Efron, who I didn't know about, I'm not going to lie.
Nope,
Bob
neither did I.
Harper, you get Sierra, Dorinda, Sandoval. Those are the big ones for me. I forgot Robin was on it. Had no idea Ion was on it. Chanel Ion from Dubai. But we talked about this a little bit beforehand, and we have differing opinions. I am staunchly rooting for my Bravo people, except for Sandoval. You have a different take.
I have a very different take. It is really funny because it came to me probably about 3/4 of the way through the first episode. And look, I think what would have been great for me, and maybe it's not all of the Bravo people, but I want Sandoval out of there as quickly as possible. I want Robin out of there as quickly as possible. I was tired of Robin last year on Potomac, and I didn't really want her back on my screen. So the quicker she gets out of there, the better. And that's just my take on it. And once things started to evolve, I realized I kind of just don't care about the Bravo people. I want to see the gameplay. I want to see how people start to like really pit each other against each other and just kind of like move around in silence. Like that's what this game is all about. That's what the show is all about.
Underestimating housewives, I think.
I
think you're underestimating.
I am correctly estimating the housewives. They are not good at this game. They are doofuses.
Dude,
did you not see Alan Cummings' quote about housewives?
That they're a bunch of moist housewives out on the pontoons?
No, they're a bunch of morons that don't know how to play the game. That's what he said.
Sometimes blissful ignorance plays well. I will always be afraid of an activated Dorinda. Okay. She got activated very quickly. They pissed her off. And you might want to say it about, okay, Dolo. Yeah, she's super nice. We love Dolores, but she's very nice, right? Ion doesn't even know what game she's playing, that's pretty fun.
I think Dolores could be ruthless if she needs to be. She just has to learn how to do that. And we see that when she's sitting down with Alan a little bit later, talking about how this is her excuse to be bad because she wants to be a traitor. But look, Ion can stay. She's not going to win the game, but Ion can stay just because she is so oblivious to all the things that happen. And she's just sitting down trying to understand how this works. She has no idea. And I love
that.
What's
the show called
really
again?
Traitors
Ion.
And she's like, yeah, I don't really know what the hell is going on. I need somebody to teach me the game. It's like she did no research on the game. And I love that. I love the blissful ignorance from her because she's just there to have a good time and just show off her outfits. That's all she really wants to do. And I appreciate that. Dorinda, I want Dorinda to stay forever. I want her because I do think that she's one of the people on this show that's Bravo centric that can actually do really well in this setting.
She's a formidable opponent.
Yeah. And Sandoval, I just went off my screen immediately. As soon as he starts talking, I'm like, shut up, Tom. Shut up, Tom. And I had that thought where it's like, if I didn't hate Tom Sandoval, if it was Tom Schwartz and he was saying all of the same things, if it was, I don't know, throw like Carl on there or Kyle, they could say all the exact same things that Sandoval's saying. And I wouldn't even bat an eye. I'd be like,
I disagree. All right, cool. I disagree because of the timing of some of the things he said, the way that he's saying it. I think that I wouldn't need them off. Like I need Sandoval off.
Yeah.
But it would raise alarms for me, the way that he's moving. And it's just how he is. He can't help himself. But like
it's too direct.
He's the most suspicious dude in the world. And the funniest part to me is you got this cast of characters, right? You got some people that are infamous in the Survivor world. You got people that have gotten fucked over by other people. There's a lot of people here that don't necessarily know everybody. Maybe they don't watch the show. Maybe they didn't see that season, whatever. The funniest part to me in all of this, you got a cast called Traitors. And it's a lot of people that are historically known for being very nefarious in their gameplay on their respected shows, correct? Everybody there knows who Sandoval is, and everybody there knows what he did, and everybody there probably hates him because
I don't think everybody does.
That thing was when it was worldwide.
Not everybody though. I really don't think that like the Survivor people don't give a shit about him. It was Nikki Bella who immediately said, "Oh, I know who that is."
Yeah, how about that? There's a throwback.
Hi. Yeah, right. Seriously. And then obviously we know that Chriselle knows Ariana, and she's friends with her, and the rest of them don't care, I don't think. I think they're just like, yeah, Tom, who you don't see that on their faces. Really, they're the only two. And I fully expect the women to know because it seems like they're friends with Ariana. So they're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to fucking talk to him. Of course not. I don't think somebody like Tony gives a shit what Tom's up to. He's probably going to use him as a pawn.
No,
And
he
that's what I'm
doesn't. He
talking
knows,
about.
yeah.
This is the thing is I feel like for Bravo people in this atmosphere, because of the way that the game is played, because they do kind of mix it all together where it's, yeah, we want the good moments, the reality moments, and that's where the Bravo people come in. And then we need the gameplay moments, and that's where Survivor and Big Brother and, you know, I don't think Biggest Loser really comes into play with this, but we need people to, you know, pit each other against it and try to pull some strings in the background. That's what the show's all about. So I think what we're going to see is they're going to use the Bravo people as fodder. Let's just throw them out there. We'll use them as pawns. We'll use them as some way to just try to blame the trading.
The trading.
TRAITING. I wonder if that's a word. Yeah.
Traitoring?
Word. Traitoring.
That sounds worse. Trading sounds like a thing.
Trading sounds right. Yeah, it sounds like. Anyway, we'll use them as an excuse, or we'll use them as just like a smokescreen, because they don't know how to handle themselves and they're just going to talk themselves into oblivion, which Tom does, Dorinda does. And it's just like, it's so funny because none of them really know how to play the game. So I think that's what we're going to see. And then at the end of this, we're going to get all the Survivor and Big Brother people against each other, which I'm okay with because I do know a good amount of them.
No, see, here's your oversight, pal. I agree with you. The gameplay from those shows that are strategically based, i.e. Survivor especially, that game's all about literally surviving. And it's, you know, not just surviving the wilderness, it's sketchy gameplay, it's activities, it's games, all that stuff. So you're correct. That crew is designed for games like this, okay? But the problem with that is because people know they're so calculated, because people know that they're going to be good at this, they're going to have a target on their back, where the blissful ignorance of a Bravo person, for example, or Selling Sunset or The Biggest Loser, whatever it might be, because of the lack of quote unquote gameplay that they do, they'll be overlooked and people will see the people. I think that if you're too good, if you're Tony level, where you come in with a reputation, people know who this guy is, Boston Rob, who we're going to get to in a second, stuff like that, where people can look at you and go, oh shit, I'm afraid of that because I know what they're capable of. That gets you a target. Whereas if you're somewhere in the middle, not Dorinda, but I think that you're actually right with the Dolo potential. If she's able to figure out how to get a little snaky in this, I think that she has a good balance of being like nice, but also being able to be a little conniving. I think that if you're too good, you have a target because people are going to want to whack you because they don't want to get whacked by you. But I think that you're going to see some manipulation of the Bravo peeps.
I think they're more useful. I think you're right. Yes, obviously you're going to start thinking about people that are good at the game and you're going to put a target on their back thinking that they're traitors, but they're also very useful allies. The housewives aren't allies. They're just, unless one of them is a traitor, which, you know, obviously things play out towards the end of this episode. We're going to try to make it look like they are. Unless one of them is a traitor, they're not useful at all, except for cannon fodder. So I think that you can see somebody like a Tony or a Jeremy. Whatever. You can see somebody as a Tony or a Jeremy. This might be the most contentious podcast that we have because we are going to staunchly
getting all heated. I'm not getting heated. Why don't you settle down?
You're making side comments, pal. I see that.
I'm not. I'm rolling my eyes.
Out of your mouth over. Yeah.
I'm rolling my eyes because I think that this is going to be fun if we're like this all season.
Yeah.
I do think that you're underestimating. I think once you get him involved, dude, Dorinda, she's been around. She knows, like, old school Roni.
So what? What happens to Dorinda?
We can't do this the whole time. We're
it's not spoiling. It happens in this episode. What? Who cares?
I think that you needed the first activity, the first game, for them to just like figure out their shit. I think they didn't realize what this game's about. I think now they do. And not only that, you've got them with the vendetta because they got left out to sea, literally. We'll get there eventually. But let's get to the first reveal because, you know, you get everybody lined up. Everyone's chit-chatting. Everyone's trying. They're all just eyeing each other up, sizing each other up. Whom I got to look out for?
We're getting a little bit of background, too.
You know, we're getting some background here and there. And you've got the whole maskless or not maskless. The masked people are standing behind Alan Cummings. He gives a great intro. Everybody leaves but one. Of course, this is going to be somebody potentially entering the game. I love that they kick it off with get rid of one person. And here's where, if I'm playing the game, and I have a chance to get rid of somebody I know is going to be sketchy, even if it's replacing, like, you know, with somebody in Boston Rob, who even I have heard of Boston Rob and his stint on Survivor. He's well known for being a very, very good game player. But if you make that move, right, I would have shaken the hand and I would have gotten
For
rid of
sure.
one of my rivals and then ally with Boston and Rob for a little while until that seems like such an easy move. And I feel like nobody wanted to put a target on their back out of the gate. And I get
I don't
that.
understand how that would put a target on your back though, because nobody's a traitor at this point. You're just playing the game. And I agree with
that's
you.
true.
Wouldn't you want Boston Rob? Like that is an immediate gratitude. Like, hey, welcome to the game, Boston Rob. I'm going to kick off the person that I think is going to come for me. Like if you're somebody like Danielle, who you've got, what the fuck is
Brittany.
Brittany is coming after you. Or if you're Brittany, you think Danielle's going to come after you. So that's an easy one. Tony and Jeremy, same thing. Like there are things I actually said in this moment. If you're Tom Sandoval, why don't you go over there? Everybody fucking hates you.
Yeah.
Why don't you just walk over, shake Boston Rob's hand? Maybe you can make a friend in him because I doubt Boston Rob knows who you are. And then you can just move on and you can kick somebody out like Chriselle, who you seem to have a vendetta against because she's friends with Ariana. So there's an opportunity for somebody who is hated or somebody who you know is there's someone else that's going to have put a target on your back immediately and start talking shit on you. You could go right over and just welcome Boston Rob to the game, get that person out. And then they're like, oh shit, this guy's going to do whatever it takes to win. That's a great move. And they're all too scared. That's what it comes down to.
I think the biggest thing, like you said, at this point, nobody's a traitor. You can get rid of this person and then be a traitor, and you have the opportunity to whack two people in one go. I feel like that was such a
I think they wouldn't make you a traitor though off the bat, just because you already did a move like that. So now everybody's going to assume that, all right, well, he's got traitor instincts. Maybe it's going to end up being him, and they're going to try to get you out right away. So there's a lot of little nuances to this game that you don't think about.
Which is why I like it.
Also, not one person thinks the same way, which I think is hilarious because they're all immediately eyeing each other up, thinking about how they're going to be in this game. And no one is on the same wavelength at all. So you never know what somebody else is going to do. And look, I mean, later in the game, you'll see people can be very convincing. They can sit down with each other, or you can sit at a round table later in the season and convince like at least 4 or 5 other people to vote for you just by just being personable. That's really all it takes. So it is really fun to watch.
Yeah, early alliances I do see because they were eyeballing each other, and I think they were both thinking the same thing. Was Jeremy and Carolyne from Survivor were both kind of peeking, should we take Tony out? That was like the underlying conversation I think they're having with their eyeballs.
Right.
So I could see them joining together, although obviously, as we're about to find out, Carolyne's going to become a traitor, but I could see that being an easy pairing because they have a joint enemy in Tony. I don't think Tony's going to last very long just because of his reputation. That's the vibe I get, unless he continues to get immunity because he gets the shield,
I think, and the way that it plays out too, as you just said, Carolyne becomes a traitor. It could behoove you to keep Tony around because until somebody thinks like, oh, wow, this guy's got a reputation, maybe we need to get him out because he could be a traitor. They might just leave him around again as just a smokescreen. Like, all right,
use him later to get whacked. Like you can be like, if you start, let's say, we're getting into it and you need to point the finger at somebody convincingly, you can be like, start to get some rumblings about Tony. I like that. I love the fact that we can sit here and speculate like this about moves to be made. It's just a lot of fun, but let's keep going. So this will take 6 hours. We get inside of the house. Again, everyone's mingling. We're getting to meet people a little bit more. Tom's wearing a fucking kilt, and I hate it. I hate it so much. He goes and looks at his own picture. He goes, ugh, I look like an inmate. No, you always look like that, pal. That's not just that picture, but whatever. You do see everybody, for the most part, going to familiar places. The Survivor crew is in there talking to each other, and then you get kind of a mishmash of people. The housewives seem to be sticking together. Bob is kind of floating because obviously he's a standalone. You got Gabby from The Bachelorette, and then Ivar Mountbatten.
Yep.
Who is a British royal in some capacity.
The only reason I know that name is because I watched The Crown, and Charles Dance, who played Tywin Lannister, was, I guess, his like grandfather or great uncle or something. He was the one who was assassinated with a car bomb or a boat bomb, I think it was, like back in the 60s. Yeah.
You don't hear about boat bombs very often.
Don't hear about boat bombs, but that's a Mountbatten. So I guess he's the second cousin to the king. That's where he is, and he's the first openly gay royal family member, which is
right. I thought it was a strange comment to make though from Gabby, where she goes and she was a Bachelorette contestant or Bachelor contestant later.
She's already
came out
starting
as
to annoy me.
lesbian. But she said after she says, she goes, I knew there was some queerness in that family. I was like, It's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's not the first, and it's definitely not going to be the last on this show. That's like a weird royal family comment.
Yeah, which I'm here, by the way, give me all of them. I'm not against what she said. I was just like, oh, okay, that's fun. Let's keep doing that because the royal
Didn't they get
family
in
is such a
trouble before
bizarre
because
concept.
we made too many? Yeah, we made too many
Royal
weird
family
royal family
jokes?
comments.
It's
Yeah.
like, I don't care.
Let's
I
you
don't
guys
care.
back off.
I think it's the most bizarre setup in the world that you still have a monarchy amongst
Yeah.
democracy. It makes no sense. I don't know what they do. Whatever. I don't want to get into it. But yeah, give me more of that. I think it's funny. When we get to the trader selection, everybody goes for their one-on-one interview. Everyone's saying relatively the same thing. So I don't even know.
Except for Tom.
Yeah, except Tom, which is so funny
I
because
need
dude,
redemption. I need to be a
you
faithful.
know exactly 100%. This guy was like, for my image, I don't want to be labeled a traitor because I am a traitor in real life, and I'm trying to do this for damage control, and I want to come out of this squeaky clean. So just please make me faithful. Don't betray me. I'm like, dude, fuck off.
Well, Alan Cummings' response to that is incredible. He's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you want to be one of those? Yeah, it's not going to feel good to be lied to, cheated on, or traded, huh? I'm leaning on
I
traded.
think traded should, yeah, we'll trademark that. We can keep
Uh-huh.
using it. We will look it up, or somebody look it up. Let us know if that's actually a word.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we'll just keep
just let us
using it.
do it. Yeah, just let us do it.
Come on,
All right,
guys.
everyone, back off, guys. But no, I do think it's funny that, you know, and Alan Cummings, man, I cannot stress it enough how delightful he is to watch on this show.
He's the
Like
best.
it's almost like this role he was meant for this.
Yep.
But we get to the actual selection, and we get Danielle from Survivor, we get Carolyne from Survivor, and then you get Bob from RuPaul's Drag Race, who I am going to refer to only because they did on the pontoons as
Drag Queen
Bob DQ.
Yeah. Oh, I saw
Yeah, so
Bob DQ. Yeah. On the
Bob
little mat.
DQ, and then you got Bob H. So that's how we'll differentiate between the two of them. And out of the gate, I mean, we don't know a whole lot about these people. I really like these selections because I like that Danielle has a vendetta coming in. I like that she's going for somebody in Brittany potentially. I like with Bob is kind of unassuming, and he even says that himself. You know, he's like, I wasn't born to be a traitor, but. And as you see him progress through this first episode, I'm like, ooh, I think you're going to be a really good trader. He actually seems to have the game figured out from an early standpoint. And then in Carolyne, she's a wild card in a good way. Like, I think that she is made to be a traitor as well. Yeah. And I think that she's interesting because she also has a vendetta against Tony. And I think once you introduce, obviously with the big reveal at the end, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, why, whatever. If and when Boston Rob enters the game, and she's already a traitor, now you have Boston Rob and Carolyne, both Survivor contestants, also Danielle's Survivor. Now you got 3 of the traitors are Survivor centric, which again, if I'm Tony, that's a problem. That's a big, big problem. So I like that selection a lot. But when they pull off after the big reveal, this is my favorite part of the episode potentially because everyone's just eyeballing each other. The traitors are trying to look, you know, inconspicuous. And you look at Sandoval, first of all, I was like, is he crying?
I thought he was crying too. And then I was like, maybe they like had their blindfolds on for
like an hour,
20 minutes. Because I'm like, Alan just keeps walking around. And obviously he's doing a little hezzy hey here and there. Just trying to throw people off. Like, oh, nope, not you.
Fake hand.
And it's really fun too. Like this could be a really fun show for us to like, especially the first episode, maybe next year, for us to watch the first episode together. Because I had quotes. I had inklings of who could be a traitor, and I was way the fuck off because I don't know how to play the game. And I'm thinking, all right, maybe he would pick somebody like Drag Queen Bob is inconspicuous to an extent, but somebody like Sierra is very inconspicuous. Somebody like Ion, incredibly inconspicuous. But then I realized they're not going to know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, that sets the tone in a weird way.
Somebody who knows how to play a game like this. So that's why the selections make a lot more sense. I know that now. I didn't know that before. So here I am.
Yeah. And the only thing that sucked for me, I was like, Tom doesn't know shit because he's like, I already see a lot of red flags, this and that. I'm like, no, you don't. And then Bob's like,
my ex-girlfriend's friend.
I'm like, fuck. I'm like, he does know. Because Bob's like, why is this dude eyeballing me? But yeah, so everybody notices Tom. Like literally everybody notices him looking around the room. And I think his downfall, which is going to be easy, his downfall is simply going to be doing too much because he's going to try to be nice to everybody. As we saw later when he goes to comfort Danielle after the boat thing, he's just doing too much. He's putting himself out there trying to look like the nice guy once again, and it's going to bite him in the ass eventually, which I'm very excited for, but he already fucks himself up because he goes after Chriselle. He walks out of the room and he points the finger at her. And initially I'm like, all right, because again, I'm scanning, right? I'm looking at eyeballs, I'm looking at body language, all that stuff, trying to figure it out. And I didn't see anything in Chriselle that I was like, ooh, but he calls her out to a big group of people. And that's when we find out, oh, she's friends with Ariana. This is a personal vendetta. He's getting personal already, which I know other people are too, as far as like the Survivor thing goes, but that's gameplay centric. You're getting emotionally invested because she's friends with your ex that you cheated on. Which once Chriselle starts spreading the word around, especially after you get the men versus the women pitted against each other with the boat unintentionally, but very importantly, I think when she starts talking to everybody, the people that maybe aren't up on Sandoval, that don't know it very well, if she starts to say, oh, well, he's accusing me because I'm friends with his ex that he cheated on, she's going to get a lot of support and he's going to get a lot of shit. And that's the kind of stuff I'm ready for.
Yeah, that's definitely the kind of stuff that I'm ready for. Now, the problem, now I'm thinking a little deeper on this, the way that he's acting. At first, I thought, all right, if he's going to come off with his blindfold off and he's staring everybody down, it's going to look a little red flaggy to me. So people are going to think he's a traitor and he's just trying to do too much. But the more that he talks and does stuff, if they find out, okay, he's going after Chriselle because she's friends with Ariana, they're going to just immediately just throw him to the side. Like, all right, he's not a traitor. He just has a vendetta against Chriselle.
Yeah, perhaps.
So that sucks because that means he's going to be on the show for a long time.
I don't think so.
Because they're going to just peg him as a faithful. I think that's what it is. Because you and I are like, all right, Tom, like, if he was a traitor, I think he would have like slinked back in his seat and like looked around a little bit. But people are going to figure out the kind of person that he is. And obviously you get like Chriselle and Tom will probably just try to vote each other off because they hate each other. But they're going to peg him at some point as, all right, he's doing too much. He's not a traitor. He's just trying to like figure out how to play the game terribly. And I love that his first instinct is, oh, it's got to be Chriselle. And later his next instinct is, who do you think it is? And he just goes after all of these people and he is dead fucking wrong. He's talking to Danielle and Carolyne and he's like, I have a good feeling about you.
I trust you two.
You are
There's
so
something about
wrong.
you two that you guys just seem cool to me.
Yeah,
I think I feel
that's funny
safe
for me.
here. Yeah, that was hysterical. And that points to like how he's going to play the game.
Yeah.
I think the Bob thing was a fluke that he got Bob DQ out of the gate. But yeah, I thought that was so on point where he's sitting next to two of the three traitors, which statistically speaking is difficult to walk through that room and sit down next to two of the three out of all that group. And he's like,
and they don't even know that each other are traitors. So that's even better.
I know. And he's just like, you guys, this is a good vibe right here. This is a good trio. But anyway, Dylan immediately goes to Chriselle, so he's doing his work to I think that's what you're getting out of this scene for the most part, is people are feeling each other out. Who's going to be my friend? Who can I lean on a little bit, especially for the standalones, you know, the Dylan Efrons, the Bob Harpers, anybody that's coming into this show solo without anybody else from their same network. That's where you're starting to see these alliances. People they're testing the waters a little bit. They're testing the waters. But
is that a pun?
We get to our first challenge, which is a row challenge on a lock, which is a lake, if you don't know.
Did you really go from testing the waters to a row challenge that quickly? Did you mean to do that?
No, but that's how the show is. I'm so locked in. The puns are flowing naturally.
We're heading to a lock.
Yeah, we're heading to a lock. And the way the game is set up, there's 5 pontoons. Each pontoon has fuel. I don't know why that mattered as much. Is that to light the thing on fire?
You needed all full. Not all 5 of them had fuel. I think only 3 of them had fuel. I think the first, like, so you have to make the choice of, do you want an extra $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it was, or do you want fuel? So once they got to the fuel, which was the 4th point, you can see that everybody's like, nah, I need a shield. I need to be protected tonight. And that's really what it comes down to, is you have to abandon 2 of your mates, which is fucking hilarious watching them go through it, because you see so many people who are a little selfish, and you see the game being played of, well, we need men on here to row the boat. It's like, you've got Nikki Bella here,
Ivar,
who's fucking stronger than everybody. You've got Tom Sandoval complaining about his fucking forearms like a little bitch.
Because he takes hydroxycut. That's why. He looks like that, because he takes hydroxycut. He openly says that. I don't want that guy in the boat. Nikki Bella can do backflips and land on her feet from the top of a fucking cage. Like, yes, that she can throw a grown man out of the ring. I want her on the boat at all times. I thought that was such a funny part, and they do such a good job setting these dynamics up, and I'm sure that's intentional.
Yeah.
Where you're rowing the boat, and of course the British royals like, we need the men, get the women off the boat. So Ivar's fucking the misogynist out of the gate. But
Yeah.
pontoon number 1, we ditch Robin and Chanel, and or Ion, for those of you that don't know Chanel Ion.
Yeah.
So Robin just, again, I think that she thinks it's going to look good by sacrificing herself, not understanding, no, this makes you look like a traitor because you're not concerned about potentially getting whacked. Ion simply doesn't know the game, and she sees a housewife get off, and she's like, okay, I'm a housewife too. And then you got Ivar the Magnificent over here going, we need one more girl. Get off the boat, ladies. So Chanel's like, okay, cool. What's up, Robin? And only when she gets on the raft and they row away, she goes, fuck. This is bad. This is a bad move. And then Robin's
We're
like,
open.
oh, shit. We're both fucked. Like,
No,
yeah, no.
I had a different feeling about it too, because I'm thinking, and we get this on the next spot, or on the third spot rather, but I'm thinking, if you're a traitor, like, you're safe either way.
I would
You
just get
can
off.
just be selfless and get off and be like, yeah, you know what? No, like, we need 2 people to get off. We need to hurry because we need to make sure that we get all 5 of these so that we can increase the prize fund. I'm going to get off. Somebody else come with me. And then you talk somebody else into it. And I think it kind of throws people off the scent. But that's the duplicity of this game, which is so fucking cool, or the duality of this game, rather, which is so fucking cool, which you can get off and do all of the things that I just said and look selfless to half of the people. The other half are going to be like, well, they got off the boat because they're safe. It doesn't really matter. They're traitors. So it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. I thought that it was funny, obviously, that we get the housewives out immediately. It's
All
just
4
like
of them.
Ion, Robin. All right, next stop, who's getting off? And obviously we're still on
Dorinda and
the
Dolo.
girl train. Dorinda and Dolo get off, and they have the same realization. They're like, shit, we're open to this. They better get all 5 of these, because otherwise it's not worth it. I want to be in the circle at the end. What the hell?
Yep.
What are we doing here? And that is
100%.
just great to me.
It's great. And Bob, drag queen Bob, he gets off on the 3rd pontoon, but he was also, and this is when I started to see him step into the role more. I was like, okay, I like this, because he steps up and with the heave ho to get everybody, because that was an absolute shit show out of the gate. Nobody knows how to row. They're doing like circles.
So we really need 2 people at the back too. What was it, Wells and Sierra in the back?
They're the coxswain.
Sure, yeah.
Stroke,
do we need
stroke,
2 people to
stroke.
yell at? No, we just need one back there. So one of you get off.
Well, according to Ivar, it has to be Sierra.
Yeah, of course.
Fuck this fucking guy. But Bob and Pontoon 3 calls that out. I think that's important because it sets the tone for the rest of the game. That adds a different layer to the competition, because now it is somewhat men versus women. It's like, oh, you're saying that you can't get back on time just because there's ladies on the boat. Again, professional wrestler Nikki Bella can row the shit out of that fucking boat.
Yeah.
So that's a stupid sentiment. Bob calls that out. He hops off. But that's why I thought Pontoon 3 was the ideal spot for a traitor to hop off the boat, because you know at that point it's getting contentious, because everyone's worried about, all right, I've only got 3 pontoons left. If I can just make it, I don't have to get off. Bob causing a little bit of a stir, because he hops up and calls out the blatant misogyny happening right now. And then you get him hop off the boat. He's protected, but he also looks like he doesn't want to get off. He's doing it in solidarity. Danielle also fed up. You know what? Fuck it. We've been sitting here for too long. I'll get off. You guys just make sure you get. That was when the traitor should have hopped off. Because if they do it on pontoon 4, I think it's too late. If they do it on 1 or 2, I think it draws skepticism. So it worked out really well for those 2. And I think they actually pointed the target elsewhere because of how they got off the boat. And then at pontoon 4, you get Bob H and Sam, who I don't know Sam's like. He's Brittney Spears' ex from some point.
He's a model. Yeah. Whatever.
Model and actor, whatever. But there's 10 people safe because they refuse to go to pontoon 5 to get all of the money. When, by the way, they had an exorbitant amount of time. They had 40 minutes to get there and back.
And they do it under the guise of, we're running out of people. We're running out of manpower.
We're running
to be able to get there and get back. We're running out of men. Ivar just stands up. There's no men left. We just lost 2 guys over here.
He just jumps off the boat.
How are we ever going to get back? It's like, you're a royal. I thought this was like a royal activity, right?
Yeah, you guys run boats all the time.
You should be able to do this by yourself, buddy. Like, what are you worried about? So yeah, you can see that, and they do it under that guise, but really they just want to be safe. They're
That's
like,
it.
let's forego. We don't need any more fuel. We've got all the fuel we need. We don't need that extra 20K at the end. Let's just get back
Let's
now. And we're all
sacrifice these
safe.
8. Yep.
And they are not thinking the
Nope.
other 8 sitting out there are like, well, fuck you. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me? You're
we're
leaving
fucked.
me open. And you should have at least gone the distance. I thought that I was getting off, and Dorinda and Dolores say it. I thought I was getting off so that you guys could go get that extra money. No? Okay. All right. So it's just 8 of us instead of 10 that are open. All right. Fuck you guys.
By the way, it's 6
Yeah.
because 2 of those 8 are traitors. So there's 6 people potentially up for grabs now. That's it. That is not great odds. So
Nope.
we are more than likely going to lose a housewife out of the gate, just based on statistics alone. But
before we get back to it, and obviously we've got the rest of the crew heading back to the castle, I want to stop real quick to talk about our friends over at Wayfair. And look, after the holidays, you start looking at your house, you take down all the decorations. I don't know how many times this happens. It pretty much happens every year. You take down the decorations, you look around, and your house just feels empty. And what better way to make sure that you can fill up your space by going over to Wayfair and getting that piece that you had your eye on? And I did it. I mean, I even did it for Christmas. I got my parents an ottoman from Wayfair, and it looks great. And I had so much time to go through everything. They've got so many options. It is my go-to spot anytime that I feel like there's a spot in my house that's a little empty that could use just a little pizzazz. You know what I mean?
just a little zhuzh it up a little bit with Wayfair. I know I have used Wayfair countless times. I can't tell you how many pieces I've ordered from there. They are always easy to put together. And you know what? They always look great.
Yeah, and spring's coming up, and what better way to do it with Wayfair than to just go to Wayfair and get something? I do it all the time. Like you just said, it's easy to build too. That's the best. I have a fun time building, and I don't think that there's pieces missing. I don't think that there's screws that aren't going to work here. Wayfair delivers every single time, and you can give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Now let's get back to the show.
But I think that something that this show is doing so well, and you start to pick up on it, is the dynamics they unintentionally put in place. We've already talked about pitting men versus women with the boat challenge. We talked about pitting former contestants up against each other that have shared the same show. And they do a job even with dinner, because you get the shielded crew gets back to the castle, and they got warm food waiting. They get to shower, change, relax, all of that. And after they're done having seconds, you get this pontoon crew who's cold, miserable, hungry, been sitting on a raft for far too long, strolling in, still in.
How'd they get back? They just
got
put like an actual motorboat out there to go pick them up.
I would imagine somebody on an actual boat went to go.
But
Or no, one guy was rowing that big fucking boat to go pick them up. That's why
the
it took so
shield
long.
crew, the shield crew had enough time to get back, probably showered and changed. So that's a long time for them to be out there.
But that's the point, because they get back now, they're fucking miserable and mean, and they walk in and there's no food. They don't even have food left. So now the whole crew on the pontoons is already pissed off at the shielded crew because they left them out to dry, or left them out there wet,
out
to dampen. And now they're even more upset because they get back. They don't have food. They're pissed off. So you get Bob DQ, pulls everybody in. He convenes the whole crew and starts talking to them about everything. And again, that's when I'm like, okay, he's stepping into this role nicely, because I think he's drawing attention to himself in a positive way, where he's just being a force. You don't know if it's good or bad or indifferent, but he is proving himself to be a standout, which I think, in my mind, early on, you probably want to be that person,
right,
in a positive way. And then probably somewhere in the middle, you want to work on phasing out a little bit to where you kind of,
you're not going overboard with your emotions. You're not trying to like play it up, because obviously there's a whole aspect of this game where you don't want to drum it up too much, because then you start looking suspicious, which some people will do without realizing that they're doing it, like a Dorinda.
Yes, but that's what I think is interesting, because you're in the kitchen. Bob convenes this meeting. Everyone's going at each other about pontoon number 5. Why the fuck didn't we go get it? We sacrificed ourselves for you guys, and you guys were only concerned about getting back and getting safe, which, duh. It's a game about getting eliminated. If that's me, I'm going to pontoon number 2 and being like, fuck it, it's 10 grand. Let's get back to the fucking shield.
Yeah.
But regardless, what you've done now is gotten Dorinda activated. And Dorinda, I think, what was missing when they jumped off the boat with Dolo, Dorinda, Robin, Ion, before they even got to pontoon 3, I think that's when it starts to set in. In the beginning, they're just being selfless. Like, you know what? This will look good. I'll jump off the boat, whatever. They realize after the fact, like, oh, we made a huge mistake. Now that Dorinda understands how cutthroat it is, maybe she wasn't aware of like how harsh you have to be.
Yeah.
I think she will turn into a good contestant if she doesn't get whacked. Now, if I am picking somebody to go and there's 4 housewives, I'm probably going to focus in on them and say, okay, who seems to be the most capable here? Dorinda went off in the kitchen. She seems like she's activated now. She may have drawn some attention to herself in a bad way.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
definitely. And it's all about the cliques that you want to separate. Now we see a lot of cliques, and obviously there's the pre-existing cliques. You know that the Survivor and the Big Brother people are all going to hang out together. You see Nikki Bella, Chriselle, and I forget who the third one. I think it was Brittany that went with them. That went well off with them, and it's like, all right, they're conspiring over there. What's going on over there? It could be one of them that's a little capable. And obviously, the name of the game is you want to be able to vote out next episode or the episode after. You want to be able to start voting out the traitors. So you got to start compiling some evidence here, and you want to break up those bands. So you see all the housewives together. And it's like, all right, it could, statistically speaking, it should be one of them. One of them should be a traitor. And I think that's where, the producers and Alan Cummings, they get into it and they're like, all right, everybody's going to think it's one of the housewives because there's 4 of them, and it's not. So it's really going to throw people off immediately. And Dorinda, the way that she acted in that kitchen, she took it to a different level that Drag Queen Bob didn't take it. Drag Queen Bob was pissed, rightfully so, and he sat everybody down and said, look, that's fucked up. You guys didn't even go to the 5th buoy. What the hell are you doing? Dorinda is freaking out because she's been out in the cold, and this is just Dorinda. And that's what I'm talking about, where not everybody on the show knows everybody. And you can see it a little bit later. It's like, I don't know who that person is. It must be a housewife, or the housewives are going to play this game a little bit differently. So you don't know Dorinda like we know Dorinda. That's just a normal Dorinda reaction.
That was a normal.
That was actually
response.
Pretty tame. That is very tame for Dorinda.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there and we're like, no, this is just Dorinda, guys. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Dolo says the same thing. It's like, no, I'm feeling sorry for my friend Dorinda right now because she is pissed off, and I don't want to see that. And everybody else is like, well, that's a little conspicuous. It's like, it's not. But I guess in the gameplay, when you don't know somebody, that is very conspicuous because she took it too far. She played it up too far. It's a little theatrical, but it is Dorinda to us. So that's why it's really funny.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if that plays in her favor, if it goes against her. I'm not entirely sure, but we get to the traitors reveal. Danielle never won anything, so she's all in. Like, she wanted to be a traitor. She's ready to take some people down. You get Drag Queen Bob, and he's going to be the conscious killer. He's not going to be cruel, but he's going to be ruthless, which
same thing
seems similar. They seem like
I think ruthless would be, I'm going to get rid of somebody for no real reason, but being cruel would be kind of like
if you have a vendetta against them.
Like stringing them along, maybe. And then using them. I don't know. I think the funny thing to me is they had probably all day to rehearse this line, because obviously you want it to be iconic. You're the first round of traitors. You're going to get in there. You got to say something cool to Alan when you get up there that everybody remembers you. And that's what they came up with. He's like, I'm not going to be cruel, but I'm going to be ruthless. It's like, that's the same thing, Bob. Come on.
Yep. And then you get Carolyne, who claims to have slept in a cloak. None of you have slept in cloaks, so that means she's going to win this game. I think that she is probably, in my mind, the most dangerous of the traitors for right now. I get the vibe, especially coming from a Survivor background, especially going up against some of these other Survivor contestants. I think she understands the gravity of it. I think that's probably the biggest differentiator amongst everybody, is understanding how ruthless you're going to have to be. And the people that have a background in shows that feature eliminations are going to have a leg up early on. I don't think it's going to take long for people to catch up. So they're going to lose that advantage after a few episodes, I'd imagine, especially once you weed out some of the weaker ones that don't understand this game as well. But for now, it's going to give them a big leg up. And when you have somebody like Carolyne, you have somebody, because Carolyn's in there, she doesn't necessarily have a vendetta against Tony, and I have to come up with a different word for that, so I don't keep saying vendetta, but whatever.
Yeah.
But she understands how dangerous Tony is, whereas with Danielle, she has a personal thing with Brittany because Brittany kicked her off the show previously. So
yeah, I think there's a whole different aspect to this show now too that I wasn't expecting, where you're gonna have some sort of discomfort when it comes to being a traitor, because you're still doing things and trying to make decisions as a group, but you do need to start putting, personal reasons aside immediately. But there's also different ways of thinking. And that's what I'm talking about in the beginning, where everybody's on a different wavelength. And that includes the traitors. You get the three of them in a room. Like, yeah, obviously you take the cloaks off. Everybody's excited. Like, holy shit, especially Bob and Danielle, who were on the buoy together that didn't realize that they were even traitors at the time. But you can tell they're like, holy shit, I didn't know it was you. You played the game so well. I had no inkling that you were a traitor in that moment. You did such a good job. And they have like admiration for each other. Then Carolyne comes in. It's like, holy shit, I didn't know it was you either. But once you start talking about who you want to get rid of and the reasons why and what kind of game you want to play, what kind of smoke screens you want to throw out there, try to throw people off the scent of who the traitors actually are, there's differing opinions. Yep. And it really comes down to who's going to be able to last the longest in their argument for why they think. Because Danielle starts talking about, all right, we immediately have this band of housewives. Everybody's going to think it's a housewife. And what better way to do this than to throw everybody off the scent by sending a housewife home? That would be a housewife move. That is the right line of thinking. But when you start thinking about who specifically you want to send home, that's when they start getting into arguments about it. And that's where it's going to be a little interesting. And obviously, we've got a couple more episodes where more people are going to get introduced. Obviously, Boston Rob's got to fucking come back. We see it at the end of this episode. He is coming back.
Anyway,
there's no way they're going to fly Boston Rob out there. Yeah.
Right. As soon as somebody gets whacked, I'm like, Boston Rob's just going to enter the game at the end of this whole thing, which it didn't matter because the reveal is still awesome. Because, and in my stupid brain, I'm like, part of me wishes that this is actually what happens like during filming. Like you sign away your life pretty much where it's like, okay, until you're out here, you're going to be tied up in a dungeon.
Yeah. We're gonna put you in a floating cage.
Yeah, we're gonna lift this off the ground, but you have to stay here if you want to play the game, and like that's part of it.
That's great.
It's a great reveal. You get a great monologue from Alan Cummings as he's walking through the woods, and you get the reveal of Boston Rob re-entering the game. Now we have other people because you see 3 cages set up. And if you get like the scenes from next week or whatever, it reveals that there's going to be multiple people re-entering this game. So I think that will continue to happen. I don't know. This is this is my first foray.
I think
this
that's
will be the initial, and then they'll
stop. Yeah. Now I don't know if there's like some sort of like a bring back, like somebody who was murdered or somebody who was banished or whatever kind of deal. Back. There's like a redemption that could be interesting, but I do think because you're getting rid of one person tonight. And then, there's more opportunities to get rid of people because what they'll do is they'll have a sit down at the round table and do a banishment, which everybody just votes for somebody who they think is a traitor. That's when you want to get rid of traitors because you want to dwindle their numbers down. And I know. Well, the thing that really confused me was in the beginning of the episode, Alan says, and no longer will you know at the final table who is a traitor and who's not or something. So I thought, because the way that the game has worked in the past, they're going to leave when they get banished and they're going to go to the circle of truth and they're going to reveal whether or not they were a traitor. I thought he was doing away with that. And I'm like, well, that's really fucking confusing. That is going to make the game very difficult. That's not what they do. So don't worry. It's just my stupid brain. Yeah, it's the like final table. Yeah. I was very confused. But no, it's going to be such a cool game to watch. I was enthralled. And obviously they had to drop all 3 episodes. And I'm like, well, I got to watch episode 2, of course. And I wanted to watch episode 3, but I didn't. So we'll do all of that next week. I love how you say, we'll do a super episode of episodes 2 and 3, but we'll probably cut it into 2 episodes.
I just meant when we record it, we're going to record it all at once. But then I realized, well, it's still going to come out separately. So it doesn't fucking matter. But hey,
we'll make sure we get those out before next Thursday because episode 4 comes out Thursday at 9 p.m. And then from there on, we will make sure to promptly get that out the beginning of the next week because we want you guys to do it. And we love doing this. This is such a fun show to cover.
It's a great show. Great show. I am loving it top to bottom. No notes whatsoever. I'm so glad that we're getting into this one now. But yeah, that wraps up our first official episode as Bros and Shows. But as you guys just heard, it's the same damn show. It's just a different name. That's all. We're still your
same bros, different shows.
Yeah, same bros, different shows. But we're still your BravBros, baby. You got anything else?
Nope.
BravBros are out of here.
Later.